Well, it's an honor to have a chance to be here with all of you tonight and to celebrate the tremendous work of Kuyper College. Ben and Cleo, to you, where are you guys over there? Congratulations to you on your award and on your recognition of the service that you've given to this organization and the commitment that you've made. And as your comments reflect and as your lives reflect, you know that's shared by all in this room and many who may not even be here tonight. That there are so many who are involved and engaged in this school who allow it to be what it is and help it to continue to grow and to look forward. So this is a wonderful time. And every time we're kind of at an event or a celebration like this, you know, there's always this wonderful opportunity to get together and just simply celebrate. And that's great. And it's kind of to Nick's words, to kind of put a face on it a little bit, to just talk about the blessing that I've had to be a child or to be connected to Christian education, to seeing what happens in the world when people put their foundation in Christ and then try to live their lives accordingly, even if we're not perfect, and even if we make mistakes, when we make mistakes. But we continue to move forward. You know, I was a child who watched that in my parents, watched their commitment, watched what they did. And I grew up in an environment, in a community with so many of their friends that I got to know and continue to watch how they lived their lives in the world. And you saw that what they did in private and what they did in public was the same thing, because that's who they were. And it's important to be able to recognize that people put that together purposefully. Now, it may look a little different from time to time. I remember after my wedding, we were in the receiving line, and Grandpa Van Andel, Jay's dad, James, came to me, and you know, pretty gruff, pretty straightforward, and he looked at me and Maria, he said, "Go with God, boy." I said, "Yes, sir, Grandpa Van Andel." I said, "Yes, sir, we will." I'm like, you know, what did I do? You know? He was straightforward. He lived his life that way. And I have so many other countless examples. And there's another friend, Billy Zioli. I don't know if some of you may know Billy Zioli, who was head of gospel films and gospel communications after that, who's been a mentor and a friend to me. And his ministry, really the outreach that they had, was pretty dramatic. And really the story of his father, his conversion in a prison. His father, Anthony Zioli, was a criminal in the streets of Philadelphia who was converted in prison and became the walking Bible, became this strong voice for Christ. And I remember talking to Z, saying once, you know, Z, gosh, I feel like I've missed something. You know, I've been in a Christian home, kind of in this contained environment the whole time. I miss really those conversion stories. Maybe I should have had something like that. And he stopped and he said, "You don't ever want to be in a place like that. You don't ever want to be disconnected from Christ. You want to live your life there. You are so blessed to have that experience." And all the people that he had known who had gone through that conversion and found Christ just talk of the hurt and the pain that was there before they made that transition. So the mission that we have, that you have at Kuyper College, is the work that is done by all the faculty and administrators and everyone involved with the school, all of you as supporters, and certainly the students, to be equipped, to be grounded with those Christian values and that worldview, and then be able to live that every day. Is a fabulous mission. And so it's indeed a tremendous honor for me to have a chance to be here and share a couple thoughts about that tonight. You know, I want to transition a little bit, because as we work on that mission, as we take the time to gather here and celebrate all that's been accomplished, it's easy to stay in the celebration mode. And it's easy to be in the anniversary looking back mode and sharing all the wonderful stories. And that is a fabulous part of events like this. But I want to spend a little time tonight building on that, adding to that, not diverting from it, just adding to it. And making sure we spend a little time tonight as well looking forward and wondering together about what God has in store for this school and how we can all be a part of it. So I want to share a couple things, and Nick, you're right. You know, there's a lot of similarities between Amway and Kuyper College, right? We have a lot of connectivity, and we do, because this is an organization of people. This is an organization that has connections all the time, and it relies on people to do the work that God's called us to do and to move forward. And we try to do the same thing at Amway. But as we celebrate our past and as we live in our present and look forward to the future, I just maybe want to share a couple thoughts about how we might want to think about that tonight and how we might want to look at it a little bit for this school, but especially for you and your role and your connection to this school. In the Amway business, my father would always talk to a lot of folks about different stages you go through in business. And he called, you know, he had this process that he kind of talked about. You know, there's kind of 4 stages that you go through in business. Well, you start in the build stage. Everything's new. Every risk is worth taking because you got nothing to lose. You're that entrepreneurial spirit. You got an idea, you're passionate, you go after it, and you just build, and you don't care about the facts. You don't worry about anything, and you just move forward. That's a glorious time for any business or any organization to be part of, because it's exciting, and it's dynamic, and it's fun. He called it the build stage. And then as you've built something, at one point you kind of wake up and you go, how am I going to take care of this? How are we going to keep it going? You got to have a management. You got to have a structure. You got to have some way to hold it all together. And so you enter into this other stage of business and where you kind of get there and you spend a lot of time thinking about, I don't know, what's the health plan for the employees that are here? And how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pave the parking lot of where people are going? So who gets the right parking space? And does somebody get an office or a new desk or not? And you spend all your time kind of in this, and you kind of forget about the world outside. Now, that's part of any big organization or any organization that exists. It's just a matter of scale. Every organization has to have something that holds it together, people that look after those things. But he always talked about the danger is that you stay in that management stage too long. And what you want to achieve is a balance. You want to achieve a healthy balance between that enthusiasm and that looking forward to the future and having that vision about where we want to go and what we want to do and what we're going to accomplish, as well as, well, how we're going to build the foundation strong enough so that we can actually do it. We can actually make a product. We can actually deliver a product. We can actually do what we're talking about doing, and how do those things stay together? And he just observed that many times. Organizations kind of get stuck in the second stage. And if you get stuck and you stay there too long, there's a couple other stages that tend to follow. You tend to kind of be in a situation where the organization isn't doing as well as it was supposed to be doing. So there becomes a tendency to kind of defend yourself against what's going on and to kind of put up some barriers and walls and kind of defend the actions that you take. And we've done this at Amway so many times. You know, well, it's not our fault. You know, we're kind of looking after these sorts of things. We're defending ourselves. We're doing everything we can. We're working hard. We have this plan. We have this strategy. And sometimes it doesn't work. You defend yourself against people who are attacking you. Especially, we love, class action lawyers in our business are just awesome, right? I mean, they see a lot of people, wow, we're just the biggest target you can imagine. Governments love us too. And you got to kind of get into that stage. You defend yourself because you feel everyone's kind of attacking you. So when you stay in that second stage, you kind of get into a spot where the building stage seems like a distant memory. You're working hard, but not quite getting the results that you want. And then he kind of went on to say if you stay in that stage too long, you kind of get to the fourth stage, which is a blame stage. Now, it's always interesting how people take this. Some people use it very creatively. I heard somebody here locally who said whenever they had a problem as an organization, they had to blame somebody. So there's one person on the management team that was designated as the person who screwed up. And no matter what it is, They would just raise their hand and go, okay, my fault, I screwed up. Good, your fault, now we can go down and solve the problem. But that's not normally the case. Normally, people just like to blame someone else for their challenges, blame someone else for the troubles that they face. Usually, these people run for public office, right? I don't mean that well, maybe in a slightly negative way, but it's kind of a stage you get into. It's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. And sometimes I remember reading a piece once, the negative advertising and that stuff means that either way, you're going to elect a terrible person. Because if you believe what's been said on either side. And as you live through campaigns or if you've been in organizations where that's happened, that's a tough place. And sometimes when you're there, you can't find your way back to that building stage again. And so his message was always to stay focused on the building stage, stay focused on the vision, stay focused on the values, stay focused on the mission. And what a beautiful thing at Kuyper College that focus has never wavered. That you know who you are and you know why you do what you do at this school. So you have an opportunity to stay in the build stage. And I want to encourage you tonight. You're here tonight because you're builders. And I want to just simply through this time together renew that commitment. And maybe just offer a couple thoughts about how you may want to look at it. Because we go through this all the time in our business. We're always at different stages. And I kind of joked and I kind of wrote down earlier as well, Kuyper and Amway, we're the same. We're both on a journey. We have a long history. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, we've had our goods, we've had our bads. We're all on a journey going somewhere. As an organization, as a school, as a business, where are we going? How are we getting there? Are we doing well? Are we not doing as well as we want to do? Where are these stages? And how do we look to our core group of leaders, our core group of supporters, people who are committed to the organization? How do we look and think about this? Well, I want to give a few thoughts as you think about the school and to think about maybe where the journey is at the moment, where you've been, and celebrate those things, and then maybe where you want to go. Well, I think the first thing that you want to think about is to say, where are you really? Where are you? I think Nick did a wonderful job of talking about the challenges that are happening out there in the marketplace. There's some challenges that we face as an organization. The marketplace is difficult. There's always something new and changing. It's not like a sports game where the clock runs out or the walls are well defined. Something new is going to come at you in a different way, and you have to respond. The next generation of students is always going to be looking for something a little bigger, better. What's the next deal you can kind of find? How are we going to respond? Where are we really? Strengths and the challenges. I'd encourage you to continue that conversation, engage enough to ask those questions, engage enough to wonder yourself, engage enough to be connected with the real challenges of any situation. And certainly the challenges that this institution and our company face. Now we look at those and we are optimistic. We always say at Amway, we never have problems, we just have challenges. We're just optimistic. Everything's positive. Oh, we're going to get through it. And we did that a lot. We've done that a lot. And then the next day you go, well, it got worse. Oh, no, we're going to get through it. There's just so much you can do with a positive attitude. At some point, you got to go, hey, wait a minute. We got to figure out where we are. Where are we really? Our family is also involved in the Orlando Magic NBA franchise. And I don't know if any of you follow basketball very closely, but you may notice, if you do, that the Orlando Magic hasn't been doing very well. Now in business, when you're trying to figure out where you are really, you can kind of fake it a little bit. You got a little time, you got some financial reports here and there, but you can look at it differently. You can talk about trends. But when you go on a 3-game losing streak, it's national news. You can't avoid too much your record at the end of the day. So we get a very interesting status report on a regular basis after every game and after every season. But where are we really? Where are you really in your connection to the school? Is it at a strong point or moderate point or a low point? Why? Why is it there? You're a core supporter, a core leader, a piece of the heart of this organization. And a piece to help us stay in that building stage, that building mindset. We talk about a worldview, a Christ-focused biblical worldview in our life. Where's your view on yourself and your connection to this school? It's a tremendous foundation. When you look at yourself, really, you see the strengths as well and the challenges. Where are we really? Well, the second thing I'd encourage you to say if you're at a spot that maybe you don't want to be as a supporter or as somebody who's engaged with the school is to remember that you're never stuck. You know, so at Amway, we've had a lot of chances to be in some tough spots. You know, we've looked back at different spots where we've looked at ourselves and we're not where we want to be. That, you know, the business is better than this. We did that in 2007. We just said, the business is better than this. We're not doing so good and the future doesn't look so good. We're better than this. Darn it, we got to do better. And we had to realize we weren't stuck. And that's a lesson I learned from my father many years ago. He drilled into my head on a regular basis. You're not stuck. You're never stuck. And he told us stories about growing up in the Depression and the challenges that they faced. And how despite the difficult circumstances, his father would always say to him, it's going to get better. We're going to get through this. There's going to be a brighter future. But he also remembers the challenges that they faced. My grandpa lost his job, like so many others at that time. They lost their home. They moved into the upper room, attic area of my great-grandparents' home. And my dad tells a story of a young man coming to the door one day to sell a Liberty magazine. And the little boy was, he was a boy, really. He came to the door and he was crying. He said, "Sir, I need to sell this magazine. I want to sell you this magazine, and I can't go home until I sell them all." He says, "It only costs a dime." And my dad had to watch his father say to the boy, he says, "Young man, I'd love to buy your magazine. I'd love to help you. But I don't have a dime. I can't help you." Many of you have those memories. Many of you have experiences of similar challenge. But at the same time, the same person who didn't have a dime, my grandfather would continue to say to my dad, "It's going to get better. We're going to get through this." Even if you're stuck in a tough spot, you're not stuck there forever. A tough place is only a current situation that you're going to work through to get to something better. The challenges that we face in the marketplace today, the challenges that the school is looking at, the things that are happening where you are in your place in life, you're not stuck. You've got a chance to move through to get to where you want to go. Well, the third thing I want to talk about that I'd suggest is that, well, let's set some real goals. Let's have a vision. Let's articulate what that means for this school, for our organization. We did this. We went through this a few years ago. As I said, a number of years ago, we were really frustrated with where we were. We tried to take the time, Steve and I did, to say this is the reality. We're in a tough spot here. We're not doing as well as we want to do. And we committed to ourselves, say we're not stuck. We're not just going to accept this. We need to set some real goals. And we looked at ourselves, we looked at the marketplace, we looked at the opportunities, we did a bit of evaluation, and we threw a little luck and hope in there too and said, we think we can double the business in the next 5 to 7 years. And we started to put it out there. We think, here's what we can do with this market, here's what we can do with this market, here's what we can do over here with this product range. We tried to put some of those pieces in place and try to work our way through to get to where we thought would be a better place. It's amazing. We kind of almost surprised ourselves that we actually made progress. Real goals, tangible goals. Here's what we want to achieve. Here's where we want to go. What's that look like for you? Again, I'm kind of, forgive me for mixing it up a little bit, right? Because we talk about the school as an organization, as an institution, but I also want to talk about you as a supporter, as somebody who's vitally important to this school. The collective we or the individual you, however we want to look at it, both are important. Because all of us are needed to be part of the future of this school and where it's going to go. The vision, building on the values, building on the foundation. And at a university like this, at a school like this, when you know God's presence is here, and He's been faithful to this school, you can put more than a little hope into it. We can set goals for ourselves. We can put faith into it. We can build it on trust because we know God is faithful. So we can dream big dreams. We can set big goals. We can challenge ourselves to do great things and to continue to equip these students to serve Christ in our world. I think those things are important for us to remember as an organization, as a leadership team, but as individuals as well. And that kind of gets me to the fourth thing, that when we're at an event like this and we're celebrating together and we're looking back on those memories, and if I've been successful to try to encourage you to look forward a little bit, I want to make sure you look at yourself, because it all starts with you. It's all going to start with you. The decisions you make about your engagement, about how you're going to use your time, talents, and treasure to be part of this organization, to be part of this institution, to take it forward. Now, I got to hand it to you in so many ways, but especially for a fact for coming to a dinner like this when you know you're going to be asked for money. All right? I mean, now that's commitment. And you know what's happening. That you're here. You're ready for it, aren't you? You're kind of geared up, all set. But nothing happens in any organization until the leaders make a decision to make it happen. And again, I'm talking in both terms, the collective leadership group, all of you who are assembled here, and like I said, others who are committed to this school but may not be here exactly tonight, all of you are important. But there won't be a collective decision. It will be a number of individual decisions about your role, about how you feel led in your responsibility, in your connection, in your engagement with the school. As I think of Amway and the stories that we went through, when we looked at where we weren't happy in that spot. We recognized that we weren't stuck. We wanted to go somewhere else. We set some real goals for ourselves. And Steve and I began to talk to the organization about what we wanted, what we were looking for, what we were hoping for. And we thought we did a great job talking. But nothing happened. And finally, Steve and I had to look at it ourselves and say, they're not going to listen to what we say. But they might follow us when we start doing things differently. We had to look at ourselves and say, we have to be different. We have to act differently. We have to make different decisions. We have to make tougher decisions that we've been avoiding or trying to get away from, or challenges that we didn't want to step up to. We're going to have to look at the organization with some new eyes. If we really want to go to those goals, are we willing to do the things necessary to get there and to achieve it? So we had to go and make some painful decisions. We had to make some decisions about people. We had to make some investments over here. We had to take some risks that previously we weren't comfortable with, but we thought we might have to do if we wanted to actually achieve the goals. We had to get out of our box. We had to get out of our previous mindset. We had to step out in faith a little bit if we wanted to achieve something different. And so I'd encourage you tonight to think about your role in this school. What's it mean to you? What are the things you might want to do differently or think about differently, or the perspectives that you may want to challenge yourself on if you've held them for a long time? How do you want to maybe see a different future, a brighter future, a better future, or a higher level of engagement or involvement, whatever it may be? What's that look like to you? Well, I just thought it was, as I prayed about this and continued to reflect on this opportunity to be here with all of you, I felt it was important for us to connect at that level. To see ourselves collectively, to celebrate our past, but also to understand our independent, our individual roles and responsibilities with this organization for the future. You know, there's a lot of students who've done many great things that have left this school. Some are more well-known than others. But if they've stayed true to this mission, then they're impacting lives for Christ. There's a new generation of students that isn't here yet. And they are looking for this similar opportunity to be equipped to form and shape a worldview in their mind and their life that allows them to impact the world for Christ. And they're going to need Kuyper College to be the best that it can be. They're going to need a group of visionaries. They're going to need a group of leaders like all of you to see the vision and to maybe take a decision that you hadn't thought about yet. A number of years ago, I had an interesting opportunity at Amway to move to Europe. I was new in my career. Just kind of started in a training program just out of college. Maria and I had just gotten married, no kids. We just had a dog. That was it. That was our big adventure into having a family. And my brother Dick said, why don't you go to Europe? If you really want to learn the business, you got to get out of Ada. You should go somewhere and go do it. And I said, I don't think so. And I made the mistake of telling Maria about the conversation, and she said, that's great, when do we leave? And I said, no, do you really want to go? I didn't think you'd want to go. Do you want to go? And the reality was I was scared. I didn't want to go. I was nervous. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what to do. I was an idiot traveling overseas. I liked it here. I was comfortable. I just want to stick around. Well, guess who won that battle? Maria. She wins them all, and she's usually right. So it's a good thing for our marriage. As I was getting ready to head over on that assignment, I had a little time to talk to Jay Van Andel. And he said, come on in, I want to talk to you a little bit. And we chatted about the assignment, what was going to happen, what was going on, and kind of how to think about things and how to prepare myself a little bit. And then he said something in the midst of the conversation that I've never forgotten that just struck me. He said, Doug, kind of paused and looked at me and said, you know what? I'm really counting on you to do a great job over there. And I can see him saying those words, and at the time my mind kind of just stopped. And I thought to myself, like, really? You're counting on me? Do you know that I'm scared to death? Do you know that I tried to turn this down? Do you know that I was trying to avoid this at any cost? Now you know for sure that I don't know what I'm doing, right? Counting on me? Luckily, I was smart enough to keep those things in my mind and not actually say them. But I thought about them. And after we completed our assignment a couple years later and we were coming back, I reflected on that meeting. And I realized that Jay wasn't just talking to me. And he wasn't just talking about my assignment. He was expressing his values. He believed in people. Doug, I'm counting on you. Now, those students that aren't here yet, students that are currently attending, they may not use those words. They may not have the opportunity to be with you directly. But I think the words are relevant. And if they were here and if they were on the stage, I think they'd say the same thing. They're counting on you. Counting on you to provide the leadership in this organization. Counting on you to be committed and engaged. Counting on you to consider how to use your time, talent, and treasures in a way to help make this universe, this school, Kuyper College, better. Counting on you. What an awesome opportunity that God gives us to be in a place like this, to be with a school like this, to be with people like this, to be serving a mission like this. And if those students were here today, they'd say, we're counting on you. And with God's grace and with his faithfulness, I know we won't let them down. Thanks, everybody. God bless.